As y'all can see, the robe is out. The robe is out. And y'all know the Kappa robe only comes out for special celebrations. Some people are wondering, Kenton, what are you celebrating? The Pistons are out of the playoffs. The Red Wings didn't make it. The Lions draft already happened. What are you celebrating? Tibbs' pack is in the air, and is it gas or what? Tibbs runts gets you high, baby. That gets you. It's the good stuff. But with that being said, fellas, we have got to get into the full depth of everything that's going on in the playoffs, everything with the everything that's going on in terms of not only the playoffs, but the next round of the playoffs, which are the conference finals, because we've seen some things. We've seen some teams pull off stuff that we may not have imagined was possible for them. And so now we have some very interesting matchups on the horizons. And we have a viral sensation that just can't help himself at the moment, which we are going to start the show off with. In the words of the old Negro spiritual, why won't you braid my hair? Come on, y'all. No, but seriously, y'all ready to get into it, fellas?
Hey, Giz in a good mood. I don't know what happened.
I'm in a great mood. I'm on one today. Because there was only one of us that said that those Knicks could get packed up by the Pacers. There was only one of us who believed it. And I knew the Tibbs spamming them starters wasn't going to get him nowhere. But y'all ready to get into the show, fellas?
I'm ready for it.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Alrighty, well, let's do it. What's up, y'all? Have a seat. It's your favorite hour of the week with the facts over at Axe Crew. We got the master, the mixer master, Josh Guyton in the building.
That is I.
We got the money man, the man with the plan, Chris Allen in the building.
Right here.
And then you got the little old MC, that's me, Kenton Gibbs. Now, folks, the old Negro spiritual I was singing to y'all was brought to you by none other than the singer Mario of You Should Let Me Love You fame. And we're talking about the teacher who is currently, he's not fired, he's suspended pending investigation, the teacher who was getting his hair braided. Now, let me ask you this, okay? What do y'all think about the situation where the students were taking his hair down during class?
Okay, so I can go first on this. What I would like to say is there is context behind this, because actually, like y'all know me, y'all have known me for a while. It's very rare that like I talk about stuff like this, and we decided to implement some stuff like this onto the show just because people would value our opinion. So when I first talked about this, my immediate reaction was like, if I was a father, which I'm not, if I was a father, immediately, like, my man's is getting packed up if I see that. Right? Okay. But I was talking about it with my old lady, and we like actually had a conversation about it from a perspective, like, if we were parents, and it was kind of broken down that like context kind of matters, right?
Right.
So one, let's say your daughter had an interest in doing hair, and this teacher at the school was like somewhat of a mentor. I believe in that case, it can be a time and place where that is appropriate.
Right.
Not during school hours. If my kid is in school during school hours, I want them doing school related things. But this could be an after school program. This could be towards the end of the school year, and it's just some, don't nobody do nothing towards the end of the school year. And I don't think I will ever become so jaded as a parent that I forget what it was like being in school.
Right.
So I do believe it is context that matters in this, to where like you immediately don't have to be like, all right, this is cooked, teacher is fired. However, I will say that he deserved to be packed up because of how he handled the situation. He didn't just provide context and said, he didn't just provide context and said like, he didn't just provide context and say like, hey, this was this situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with my students. Like the way he handled it and the way he hit social media started hitting like borderline creepy. Like crying, reading text messages from your student. Like,
well, they were emails. He was reading emails from his work email. But I agree.
They were from his work email. Okay, that's different, which is okay. But at the same time, having a strong enough connection to where you're like in your mid 20s and you're crying about emails you're getting from like 16, 17-year-olds, that's borderline creepy to me. And then actually doing a further dig like on his TikTok account, he has some videos on his TikTok account regarding his students that were also hitting like, borderline creepy.
We don't like that.
Like he was doing some stuff like I think one of his students posted a TikTok of like her only liking like emo dudes or something, and he stitched it with like that little emo filter with you're hard on it.
That wasn't his student, but that was a student in high school. I do agree that was
his student.
Again, if it's too much tomato. If it's too much borderline, I get what you're saying.
I'll say it in this context, just because the Facts Over X show has changed our rating from years past. Mm-hmm. There has never been any, even in the conversations that we've had, which, I'll be honest, we've had some wild conversations in pre-show before we go live.
Right.
During none of that time have I ever second thought like, this is some borderline creepy, like almost pedo time having these conversations.
Oh, no, never.
Right.
No,
so any person
I have
who give
fear
you
for one of our lives. I have fear for one of our lives. But
there was no crime involved.
There was a crime. We did
not commit the crime.
We're not committing crimes.
None of us committed the crime. None of us committed the crime.
You're right.
So I always look at it from perspective that like if it's smoke is fire. Like if you present anything out there that's borderline like creepy towards children agenda, I always feel like it's something deeper there, because when I see somebody younger than me, and I'm talking about in the case like my most recent job working at UPS, it was women that worked there that were like in their early 20s, just hitting 20, and I looked at them from like a little sister perspective as opposed to like being attractive. So if you talking about somebody that's in high school and you got these borderline like creepy tendencies, like where is smoke is fire, I believe.
Right. That's fair. Chris, what do you think about, and by the way, the young man's name is Marquise White. He is not fired. He is suspended pending investigation. So that's what's going on there. Chris, what are your thoughts on the teacher getting his hair taken down in class?
I'm not going to make a big deal about this like probably the rest of the world wants me to. I'm going to just be honest and say it's a time and a place for everything, right? And how would anyone feel if the daughters of their daughters came to school and came home and said, hey mom, hey dad, whatever one they have at home, or hey both of my parents, whatever they have at home, I took my teacher's hair down today. Do you hear how that sound? Do you just hear how that sound, right? And no, he didn't have any touching with them. He said he claims he was in a rush, blah, blah, blah. It's a time and place for everything. Me, personally, I'm not having my daughter go back to that class. But that's just me. I think that is inappropriate. It gives a wrong message, right? It opens the doors for that's okay for everyone to do it, right? And everybody might not be having the right intent like he did. I feel he honestly had the right intent where he was like, I just want my hair unbraided. But everybody not going to have that same intent in the future. Yeah. So, me personally, I wouldn't allow it.
What if your daughter wanted to be a beautician, Chris?
I don't care. Go to beautician school. That's what it's for. I want to be an engineer. I went to college. What? Come on now.
I'm going to say this, right? I'm very active in my church, despite some of the things I say on here. Love my church and, my church family. I mean a lot to them. And in church, there are a lot of odd dynamics between adults and children, right? Like that's a legitimate thing. That's a problem that's been in most organized religion for quite some time. And I'm going to give you a short story to kind of explain my feelings on this thing. So there is, in the technology team, they said, hey, we want everybody to partner with a teenager, young person, so that we don't have a situation where everybody is having to do everything all at once. We want everybody to kind of train up the next generation so that they come in and replace us in essence. And everybody else picked family. One man picked his daughter. One woman picked her daughter. Obviously, I don't have kids, and none of my family are down here. So I ended up with a young man that's in the church. I know him. I know his parents. You know, all that good stuff. Because I have his number in my phone, because I have the entire technology team's number in my phone. Me and him have not texted individually at all. Because I have the entire technology team's numbers in my phone, his Instagram came up as a suggested for me.
Right.
And I immediately was like, block. His spam page came up at block. There have to be boundaries set, even though it's not any bad intent. I love the young man with the love of Christ. There is no nothing going on there. But it's the fact of the matter that this is a child. And when I first saw this, I actually will say, I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was harmless. I'm like,
yeah,
what's the problem? And then as more people who work in the prevention of child diddling and whatnot, as more people who work in that field were explaining like, hey, this is problematic because reason X, Y, Z, A, B, and C, I started to understand that because there was a hole in my knowledge there. But this is the part that sent me over the edge to where I'm like, you may not need to be back in school. Number one, the crying and all that the next day. Brother, I watched The Incredibles, and there was an episode, or there was a beginning of one of the movies where Bob and them were trying to save a bank, and they were like, the bank's insured. Everything would have been fine if you just stayed away. And the guy who's responsible for fixing it, he was like, if you want to get out of the hole, put down the shovel. That young man got on camera and started crying and making more content about the situation, number one. Number two, he made a video talking about, hey, this is the same as this older gentleman getting his hair because his class bedazzled his head. It was an old bald dude, and he said that, they're just attacking me because I'm attractive. No, it's not the same at all. It's not the same.
One, why are you even bringing up the fact that you're attractive in regards to talking about children? One.
And
two, bedazzling the head seems like a celebratory thing. Like, if y'all reach these test scores or something, we could do something silly. Like, okay, for example, Gibbs, because we had this class together. Do you know what vibes it was giving me? Do you remember how Miss Newborn treated her children? Treated her students. Yeah. That's the kind of vibes it was giving me, which did Miss Newborn get fired?
She did.
Okay, because
I got one better for y'all.
Please.
Mr. Simon, how he used to have people staying after school.
Oh boy.
I was immediately thinking
fired.
Simon, but this would be like if Simon was in there getting haircuts too.
But see, and this is my problem, because when he said, oh, if I was like an older man, if I was just bald man, it would be no. Them bedazzling that head did not take the same time and effort and intentionality. That's like if they were shaving a bald man's head. You think people would be okay with them shaving a bald man's head in that class?
Not only shaving the head, but it is a group of female students gathered around him, and he mentioned the fact that he's attractive, so I already know that these high school girls, like, it's always that one teacher that the dudes like, oh, Miss So-and-so is cute. And the girls be like, oh, Mr. So-and-so is cute. So he's obviously leaning into that. He go into class feeling himself with 6-7 girls gathered around his desk. And I low-key think he's feeling it.
That's pretty sick,
Even if that one girl was taking down his hair, for what other reason we have 5-6 other female students just gather around his desk, just giggling. Like his room is the hangout spot for 17-year-old children, bro.
And here's the thing. I tried to let him cook. I tried to be like, I don't know enough about this, and I don't want to form a super strong opinion on something I'm just now getting new information on, unless that new information is heinous. But man, he just kept digging. He just kept like, brother, stop recording. And this is the last thing I'm gonna say on it, and then we're gonna get to the sports. All y'all teachers, I don't care if you in DPS, Detroit Public Schools, or Durham Public Schools. I don't care if you in Wake County Public Schools. I don't care if you in Prince George Public School. I don't care if you in private school. I don't give a damn where you are. If you are a teacher, if you are an educator, stop making kids content. And I don't mean stop
Bars.
making content for kids. Stop turning those kids into content.
Yep.
That goes for Marquise, Mr. Jack Lee. That goes for the teacher with the gap. That's got the fledgling music career that's talking about y'all don't know shapes. All of you, stop. All of you. Get those cameras out of class. And I'll tell you what, if any of these districts were smart, they would put in a rule and policy right now. If you record these students for any other means than somebody's safety is in danger or something like that, and it is posted online, you're out. You're out immediately. Save us all the headache. Save us all the headache. I have seen
Hey,
teachers.
you know what? Now that you bring it up, regardless of what the context is, if I seen a piece of content online that had like my niece in it and I was unaware of it beforehand, I'd be hot, bro. I'll low-key fly to Michigan right now. If I open up TikTok and seen a video with my niece in it and her teacher recorded it, I'm gonna be in Detroit by tomorrow, bro.
And that's what I'm saying. That's my point. Stop putting these. I've seen teachers do it to where it's like, They make like lesson plans and all that, or they talk about, they do outfit of the day, all that
You
type of
can
stuff.
make teacher-based content.
That's
you know
what
what
I'm
I mean?
saying.
This is how I set up my kids' classroom.
Exactly. It's for the kids, but it's not including the kids. Love it. Love it. Stop having them kids be the content. It's weird and it's creepy. They have not come of age yet. Stop. And even if you do think, 17 is of age, it's not. Stop going off what the law say. Them kids are 7 years away from their brain being fully formed. You understand? Stop it. Stop it. And speaking of coming of age, now that we're getting into the sports part of things, Antman is coming of age right before our eyes. The upstart Timberwolves, which, by the way, now that I think about it, the Timberwolves aren't really upstart because, like, most of them are old except Ant. Everybody around Ant. Cat's been in the league for how many years now? Nearly 10?
He got drafted in, AD got drafted in 14. He got drafted, 12, and he got drafted in 15. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he almost 10
nice.
years in the league. That's what I'm saying. Like, this team is not really upstart and young. They're kind of old.
But they consider upstart when they don't, like, none of them have seen success. None of them have seen postseason success. So it's like,
well,
they still upstart on this journey.
So let me ask you this: what are y'all takeaways from this series? And Chris, we're gonna start with you. What are your takeaways from the Wolves Nuggets series?
I'm gonna be honest. I was a dog fight, and the reason why I was a dog fight is because, for some reason, in this series, superstars came to play, and then they didn't come to play, and then the role players came to play, and then they were non-existent the next day. So this is really different because you had the series start off with both teams winning on the road, right? Which is abnormal. But the Nuggets were in defense mode after game 1 and still lost game 2. But then somehow, some way, they won in record fashion game 3, and then they came back and won a nail biter game 4, right? And then came back and hit a sucker punch in game 5 back at the crib, where it looked like they reestablished their home court dominance.
Yeah.
So it was different in saying that Rudy Gobert went from not playable to having a fantastic game 7, right? Usually those two things won't go in the same sentence, right? So this series was abnormal, and I think, honest to God, I think the better team did win. From top to bottom, when you look at the Timberwolves, they have 2 All-Stars. They have a 4-time defensive player of the year. Jaden McDaniels is his first team. Well, any other year he would be first team all defense. He's second team all defense this year. Mike Conley is literally one of the vets of vets. And then you have Naz Reid off the bench. Like that's a nice team top to bottom, right? And they're the only team that had the size to bang with Denver, right? It wasn't no Rui Hachimura out there trying to guard Joker. It wasn't no LeBron James trying to guard Aaron Gordon on the backdoor cut. It wasn't none of that. You had Naz Reid, Cat, and Rudy Gobert down low, and Jaden McDaniels did his best on the perimeter. So, I mean, and shout out Ant for giving his team the credit. He knew he was trash in Game 7, but he talked a lot of trash, but he was trash. He gave his team all the credit. And shout out to Cat for coming to play, right? I've been waiting on the day where I could say, Cat, you came to play. Because he was aggressive. He attacked the basket. He hooped on Game 7. So, and Rudy Gobert hitting a turnaround is crazy, right?
I'd be sick to my
that
stuff.
turnaround. Listen, fell down to my knees when the law came. What?
I've been watching sports to know long enough that, like, it's that one moment in the game where, like, sports is all about momentum. When Gobert hit that shot, even though it was like 6 minutes left, I'm like, yo, Minnesota won. Because, like, that's nothing but momentum, and it's something in the stars that's, like, destined for them to win if Gobert is hitting them shots.
It's like when your big thumper meets, like, a scat back in the hole and he get trucked, and you like, oh, no. Oh, this is not our day, boys. We're going to have a really rough out today.
Yeah.
But I agree to a certain extent. I'm going to let you finish this one off, Josh, but my biggest takeaway from this series is something that we'll get into later, in that teams are back. Teams are back. Everybody loves to give it to one player, give it to an individual, give it to... Ant was 6 of 24 in Game 7. 6 of 24. 2 of 10 from deep. That's the reality of what he was. He played phenomenal defense on Murray, and yes, I know Murray had 37. If you watch the game, and stop looking at the stat sheet,
but that's why this show is called Facts Over Acts. Because if you watch the game, I'm not saying it was an empty 36, but it was not as impactful if it should have been down the stretch.
I think it was an impactful 36, but I think the problem is, if you watch the game, you will realize that 36 came when Ant was not guarding him.
Yeah.
When they took that big lead, I want to say they were up like 18 or 15, and the adjustment was, Ant, go get him. Yep. Ant said, I got him. And that was it. He was in hell for the rest of that time. So, but teams are back because, again, you don't beat an offense like Denver going 1-for-1. You have no player who can go 1-for-1 with Jokic. You just don't. He's the best player in the world right now. With all due respect to LeBron, with all due respect to Antman, with all due respect to whoever you want to give the crown to, it belongs to a pudgy Serbian who likes horse racing. That's who is the best player in the world right now. So, with that being said, you need to give him help, and then as a team, you have to play good defense behind it. You have to have a scheme behind it, which is what the Wolves came with, and they walked away. And my last thing is this. Mike Malone, don't be a front runner, baby. Don't be a front runner. You was talking your talk when you was whooping on the Lakers. You was talking your talk. Don't shy away now. Don't get mad at the reporter now. You got to win with that same. I'm one of those people. I never talk much either way. If we won, when we won, hey, we played a great game. Credit to the opponent. Things worked out in our favor. We knew if we executed, we know if we execute, nobody can beat us. We did what we were supposed to do. We came out with a win. I'm never one of those guys, those bums from East Lafayette can't play with us. They school dirty, the street dirty, they dirty, everything about them dirty.
Hey, chill on East Lafayette.
Most of those things may be true, but that's neither here nor there.
That's where I'm on my way. Relax. That's where I'm on my way, bro.
All right,
I talk crazy down. I talk crazy up. I talk crazy all kind of ways.
But be consistent.
But Chris, that's why we love you, because you are you, regardless of love it, hate it. You are you all the time. Mike Malone talking his talk, and then when you lose,
I talked when I was down. That's the difference. I talked when I was down. That's the difference.
Exactly. That's my last takeaway. Josh, what are your takeaways from this series?
My biggest takeaway from this series is that Anthony Edwards may be the greatest leader that we've seen at this young of an age.
Really?
Wow.
If you think about Anthony Edwards is what, 23?
I believe so.
Better than Wade. Wade was a pretty phenomenal leader in Miami.
That's a good one. That's good. But
Wade.
I don't think Dwayne Wade was a vocal leader at that age. You had Pat Riley, who ran the Heat like a well-oiled machine. You also had Shaq, which was a pretty big presence in the locker room, especially in Miami. Dwayne Wade didn't really hit that leadership role until...
But he didn't have to. It really wasn't necessary.
He didn't have to. All he had to do was play the best game possible that he could, and he did great. That's still one of the greatest finals runs I ever seen out of D Wade. And at the same time, he was playing a style of ball that we hadn't really seen before, on top of Dallas having one of the worst defenses of a finals team that we'd ever seen. I'm not taking anything away from D Wade, but he had Deshaun. Who was checking him? That was before Deshaun Steve. Dallas couldn't play defense.
Right.
You're looking at a Minnesota team that has a history of losing. The furthest they ever made it was a conference finals, and that was with Kevin Garnett 20 years ago. We were just talking about school. Most of us was learning shapes by the time Minnesota made it this far. Last time Minnesota made it this far in the playoffs.
Wait, you said 2001, so I was 6, y'all was 7.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we were learning shapes.
I say that because you're looking at a Minnesota team who is coming in with Mike Conley, who had some success in Memphis, and I think they may have made the conference finals once, but he wasn't the leader on that team. Mike Conley, ever since that Memphis team disbanded, he was never able to reach this level. You got Jaden McDaniels, who in any other role, we either looking at Jaden McDaniels being thrusted to be the guy on the team and he's not going to reach that potential, or you're looking at him being on a team where he's just a role player. Outside of Minnesota, Jaden McDaniels is like Josh Okogie levels on most teams. He's a great.
Hold on.
No, I say it from this perspective. What other system, coach and other players are going to utilize Jay McDaniels the same way that Minnesota just did? It's not a lot.
Jaden McDaniels is Mikal Bridges without the Gucci belt. Well, let's be clear here. He just don't got it offensively like Mikal Bridges, but defensively, he's better than Mikal Bridges.
That's a hot take. I'm not sure about that. I think that
defensively he's better. Offensively, Mikal got it over.
Defensively, I think they're the same caliber, but I think I'd give a slight edge to McDaniels. I don't think it's a big gap though. I don't think there's a gap. I think it's like,
come on now,
you give it to him, but it's not a big gap.
All I'm saying is, how many other teams? You know what? Better yet, Jay McDaniels is a textbook 3-and-D guy. Like, if you could choose one 3-and-D guy, it's going to be him. How many teams out there have great 3-and-D guys that they don't know how to utilize? A lot.
Oh, a ton of them.
Which is the point that I'm making. You got Cat, who we just said has been in the league for 9 years and haven't reached this level of success. We're looking at a Cat that's playing with confidence. I'm seeing Cat grab the ball, triple threat, pulling people's face. He's shooting better than he ever has before. I'm watching Cat take people off the dribble and dunk on people.
Yeah.
That's something I've never seen before. Cat is showing toughness on the defensive end. I'm seeing Cat getting switched on the guards, and he's picking up guards, getting deflections. They say Cat, Gobert is in foul trouble. Naz Reid is not on the floor. Go ahead and pick up Jokic. And although Jokic is going to get his, Cat is stepping up to the plate. That's something that we spent the last 9 years wondering if Karl Anthony Towns liked basketball, or he just happened to be born 7 feet tall.
That is a fair assessment.
We're looking at Rudy Gobert, which Rudy Gobert arguably may be the most hated player amongst his peers and amongst fans in the entire NBA. You got Gobert playing with the effort that we never seen before. You got Gobert moving on offense, rolling off screens with urgency. You got Naz Reid coming off the bench. This man Naz Reid, they don't win Game 7 without Naz Reid. Naz Reid came in when Gobert got that 5th foul, and he was looking like prime Scottie Pippen. He had Jokic in a torture chamber. He was hitting big buckets, and none of these players were doing this. I don't know what secret sauce he got, but Anthony Edwards is clearly the on-floor leader and the vocal leader of that team, and he's doing all of this at age 23. I don't think we've ever seen somebody at that age be a bigger leader than Ant is being right now.
And is 22.
He's 22.
He's 22. Yeah. He's. I'll tell you this much. We're gonna get to somebody later who at 22 had a as good, if not better, team around him and couldn't get the job done. I hate it for him. Segregation did numbers on that team. But now we've got to get to from one or actually before we move on from this series, is this a hit on Joker's legacy? Is this a moment that people are going to look back at and say, man, Joker folded when it mattered most?
I'll go first on this one, Guyton, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
This is what I hate. This is what I hate, bro. This is what I hate. Whenever a series ends nowadays, social media go crazy. Oh, Joker has never beat a 50-win team. Oh, Joker had an easy breezy path to the finals, and now he finally played a real team. Shut up, and shut up. Okay? You don't control who you play against. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't control who you play against, right? Because if that's the case, I hate to break it to you, Miami wouldn't have went to the finals last year. They were an 8th seed. They lost their first play-in game. And I guarantee you, when they go back and look at that Miami team, ain't nobody gonna say, "Oh, yeah, they was an 8th seed. They just got hot. Oh, they was an 8th seed. They just played out of their mind." I guarantee you, nobody gonna look at that and say that, right? So stop with all this. This is not a knock on his legacy. Joker just started winning, and he had a year where he went to Game 7 and lost to a team that was prepared to beat him. Not to mention, it was a team that the GM for his team actually went to and knew how that team was constructed from top to bottom because he did it, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, he just lost. I mean, every great person has lost. Every great player has lost.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's fair. That's fair. Josh, what you thinking?
This is not a hit on his legacy. Just like Chris said, every great player loses. And how is this a hit on someone's legacy that has 3 MVPs and an NBA trophy already? It's been like 5,000 players in the history of NBA, and it's only 6 that has at least 3 MVPs and a championship. Sometimes teams just lose. I think people throughout the course of basketball have seen teams be dominant and have seen all of these dynasties that they don't understand how hard it is to repeat as champions, especially when you're a team like Denver where you're on everybody's radar. Teams are going into the playoffs saying, hey, they're the defending champions. We're going to have to play Denver at some point. The ex-general manager of the Denver constructed the Minnesota team to beat Denver.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to find a happy medium because, one, it's hard to repeat as a champion. And we saw the Warriors, then we saw the Cavaliers, then we saw the Heat, then we saw the Spurs, then we saw the Lakers. So we got it stuck in our head that it's so easy to repeat as champions. But there's a middle ground between post-social media, living in a microwave society, to where as soon as you lose or as soon as you have a bad game, your entire legacy is a fraud. And you know, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, before social media, to where
if you were a great player, everything was okay. Nothing you did was wrong. You
yeah,
never
like
played a bad
it's a
game.
lot of people from that era that saw gassed up to being these like titans and these pillars of the game of basketball. And when you go back and watch it, you kind of like, why did we grow up with people telling us Pat Ewing was top 5 centers all the time?
Boy. Funny you mentioned Pat Ewing. He'll come up a little later. That's a secret Mosca tool that we're going to use later. But anywho, you know, this is my take on this whole legacy thing. I'm sick and tired of it. I want to understand something, okay? So his legacy takes a hit for averaging 29, 11, and 8, 1 block, 2 steals per game. His legacy takes a hit for that.
Apparently.
And if you watch the game, he's doubled the entire time. If anything, I will give you that he was too passive, settling for too many jump shots. I'll give you that. I'll give you that all day and tomorrow. Sure. He shot terribly from 3. Again, do you know what that man did in Game 7? 34, 19, and 7. I'm sorry, what?
Yep.
And y'all are saying that somehow makes him work again. And I hate to blame this on.
Can you read Michael Porter Jr.'s stat line before you blame it real quick?
Oh, absolutely. You know. Now listen, if there's anybody that I love to slander, MPJ is one of my favorites to slander. Boy, slandering him. If slandering him was a Olympic sport, I'm going for the gold every time. Okay. Now, let's first start off with this. Michael Porter Jr. against the Lakers averaged 22 and 8. Michael Porter Jr. against the Timberwolves averaged 11 and 6. Wasn't even half the player. Wasn't even half the player you were against the Timberwolves that you were against the Lakers. Ain't that something? But in all seriousness, I think that it's so stupid, and I'm going to say this, and people are going to get mad at me for it. There's only one fan base to blame for this. There's only one, and it's those stupid Jordan fans. They made the game no longer about, hey, what did an individual do? It became all wins and losses. And oh, if you lost, your legacy's terrible. You're not a good player anymore. And it's like, dude, there are other people that have to show up. Jokic said in the press conference, verbatim, the Wolves were built to beat us.
Yeah.
What? Again, you show me somebody else. You show me somebody else that's going to put up those numbers, and, we can have that conversation then. We can have that conversation about legacy when you show me another guy that can put up those numbers in today's game. And now, moving on to another Game 7 in the West, we had the Thunder and the Mavs. And boy, was Luka hurt.
No. That was Game 6.
That was Game 6.
I'm
Game
sorry.
6.
Game 6. You're right.
Yep.
It wasn't a Game 7 because we thought it was going to be Game 7. But somebody folded and took a bad foul. But with that being said, the Mavs get rid of the Thunder in 6. Takeaways from this one, Josh, we're going to start with you.
My takeaways from this is we have to give that Dallas team better credit for how they were constructed. We have to give them credit because this is a Dallas team that at the trade deadline were the 10th, 11th seed in the West, I believe. And they made those trades to get P.J. Washington. They made the trade to get Daniel Gafford. And they completely turned the team around because it gave them depth. It gave them the ability to stretch the floor. Let's not forget, Dallas won this series without their starting center.
Right.
Which I give them a lot of credit for. But it also shows you how far experience goes. Luka has been in the Western Conference Finals before. Kyrie is an NBA champion, and they stepped up for those moments, which is why us talking about this Minnesota win is such a big deal, because Oklahoma City is, just as inexperienced as Minnesota is.
Fair enough. Chris, what are your takeaways from this series?
Y'all gonna like when I say this, but everybody else ain't gonna want to hear it. Jason Kidd is who we think Doc Rivers is. Who they think Doc Rivers is. Jason Kidd.
I was about to say.
Jason Kidd is who they think Doc Rivers is.
I'm gonna tell you, Lawrence Fishburne might be a better coach than Doc Rivers after playing him in clip. Let's have a conversation. But no, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Listen, let me cook. All right,
go for it.
Guy, you the historian here.
Yep.
Who's the coach of the Bucks when Giannis was a nobody?
That was Jason Kidd.
Yep. And what happened when Jason Kidd got hold of Giannis?
He started playing Giannis more. He started having Giannis be the primary ball handler. And that first season, when he announced that Giannis was going to be his primary ball handler, he was kind of the laughing stock of the league for a little minute too.
Yeah. Okay. What team did he go to next, guy? If you don't mind me
did he go straight to Dallas?
No. He went. He took a detour to L.A. He took a detour to L.A.
Yeah.
Jason Kidd?
Wait, he was with the
Jason Kidd was on the Lakers coaching staff. Jason Kidd was
Oh,
on the
yeah,
Lakers
he was an
coaching
assistant,
staff.
right? He was an assistant. You're right.
Okay. And what did the Lakers do in 2019, 2020?
They won a championship.
Okay. Just pointing that out. Okay. When Luka Doncic went to the Western Conference Finals in 2021, who was the coach?
That would be Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Okay, and Luka Doncic missed the playoffs last year because they integrated a big piece, Kyrie Irving, which it still sucks, but it was understandable, right?
Yeah.
Where's Luka Doncic right now, and who's his coach?
He's in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
His coach is Jason Kidd.
Where's Doc Rivers been since 08?
At the crib, Cancun, with his son saying that NBA players could play in the NFL. That's where Doc Rivers is.
Okay. I don't want to hear no Doc nothing no more. Anybody start a conversation with Doctor, Doc Dick, anything, I'm done with the conversation. I don't want to hear Doc ever again. Okay? Jason Kidd, that guy. All right? Quiet as it kept, Frank Vogel. If you want to keep your job, you should have said, Jason Kidd, go talk to LeBron for me. Because that's one of LeBron guys, if y'all didn't know that. That's one of LeBron guys. And not that LeBron fired him, but Jay Kidd could have been someone that he utilized more in that coaching staff, right? Because Dallas saw the light. Dallas saw the vision, right? 2 Western Conference Finals, and you got a 24-year-old, 25-year-old leading your team. It's impressive, okay? People killing me, right? Talking about how young the Thunder are. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is older than Luka Doncic.
But he's the only. That's not.
Gibbs, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. The team is still young. They're the but what I'm saying to you is, what I'm saying to you is, Shai do all this posted. Oh, they traded Paul George for me. They traded this for me. Luka came into the league, and he was too good to tank with. He was too good. You got traded to the Thunder because they were trying not to tank. Okay? I'm only saying this to say it's levels to this stuff. It's levels to this stuff. Okay? And the Thunder just didn't have their way with this series at all, right? A lot of inexperience showed down the stretch, and a lot of teams have a lot of inexperience show down the stretch. But the Thunder, the mistakes they made, the disappearance performances, literally the other 4 starters, Josh Giddey became unplayable in this series. He went from starting to get replaced by Isaiah Joe. I didn't even know who Isaiah Joe was until the second round of the playoffs. And I watch a lot of Thunder basketball.
He got
He was some old.
got a weird case. Why is he around? No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I'm just saying we need to stop with this Doc Rivers and start praising Jason Kidd a little bit. He got Kyrie Irving focused enough to go on another deep playoff run. Something that the man in Brooklyn couldn't do. Something that Boston couldn't do.
Well, that man in Brooklyn should have never been a head coach. He should have never been a head coach. I mean, y'all all know how I feel about that one. I saw as soon as that hire happened, I said, yeah, that team's done. They're done. They're done.
Yeah. Gibbs did call that one. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to leave it here, right? I'm going to leave it here. It's levels to this, right? It's levels to this. Yeah. It's levels to this. And when people say the Thunder is a first seed because they played well in the regular season, that just tells me, guess what? They're an inexperienced team. Because we all know the regular season don't mean jack shit when the playoffs come around.
Not in the playoffs. Not in the playoffs. I'm gonna jump in right here. We're gonna end it with you, Josh. I honestly think this series went how it was supposed to go. A more experienced team showed that they were more experienced. More experienced stars showed that they were more experienced. That's all it was. Like, everybody's trying to make this an indictment of the Thunder or ask, oh man, were the Thunder the worst 1 seed or whatever? No, they were a very quality 1 seed. It's just that they were young and were not ready for playoff basketball. Like you talk about Giddey. Giddey was god-awful, but beyond Giddey, they were not prepared for certain adjustments that the Mavericks made that you got to be ready for in the playoffs. They made Derek Lively look like the second coming of Hakeem Olajuwon in Game 7. He was a menace at the rim. Or rather, let me not say Hakeem Olajuwon. They made him look like prime Dwight Howard out there. Every time he was going to the rim, either he was coming down with a rebound or he was going to be putting something back.
Yep.
That's just what it was. And so I think that they weren't prepared because, again, that's a small team that uses small lineups, and they said we're going to dive out of the lineup that we've been rolling with, and they did not have anybody. Derek Lively is young enough and active enough defensively that he can switch better than most bigs, which gave them immense problems. So, I honestly and truly, Kyrie and Luka, they showed up. There were plenty of times where you started to think, man, this game is going to get away, especially in Game 6, where you're like, man, this thing is going to get away one way or the other. And every time it looked like the Mavs were out of sorts, out of wits, whatever the case may be, what happened? Kyrie or Luka hit a big shot. That's what happened. And then you add in Derrick Jones, who had a phenomenal game in Game 7 as well. They were just a more experienced team. I'm not one of those, hey, this team will be back, guys. But the Thunder are legitimately the youngest team in the league. This is different than the last time we saw the Thunder, where it was all these egos and everybody wanted to do all this and all that. And I have a strange feeling that Giddey is going to want to stay in the place that, never mind, we're not going there. Giddey's going to stay in Oklahoma. I don't think that he's going to DC.
Hey, and there's also a team that has a lottery pick this upcoming draft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that team, they're gonna be all right.
And can we talk about how Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington at the deadline, that front office, that Dallas, that move they put?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They cooked.
And drafted Derek Lively? Come on now. Come on now.
Let me
Dallas.
tell you something. I had a young woman that had me tell me she was disgusted with PJ Washington because he blew her parlay. I said, betting on a PJ Washington over in the year of our Lord and Savior 2024. That's insane. You asked for that one.
Hey man, nothing is funnier than watching the parlays of people that just want to gamble as opposed to people that actually know sports. Because I done seen some egregious parlays from some people that don't watch sports.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
I know a young lady that took the over on Chris Paul rebounds. I'm like, yep. FanDuel about to eat good off you.
FanDuel saw that bet hit in and start playing that Kanye. He's done miracles on me. But you know what? He has done miracles on me because that's why the robe is out. Let's head on over to the East where, who could have guessed it? Who could have known the Knicks had all of these injuries? Guys, if only somebody would have told y'all playing NBA basketball like you're playing 2K with the fatigue off isn't a good idea. They would have called him a madman. They would have said the Pacers have no shot.
2K
and here
with
we
the
are.
fatigue off is crazy, bro.
Listen, OG Anunoby hamstring. They said this gonna fall off the bone like at the turkey leg hut in Houston when they bang it on the table. Listen, I'm so shocked. I will say this, and I'm going to give it to y'all, whoever wants to take it first, because I have nothing to say about this series besides I told y'all I was right. Give me my flowers, please. I have warned y'all about Tibbs for years. I watched it in Chicago. I watched Luau Deng break down. I watched Joakim Noah break down. We all saw what he did to Derrick Rose. We saw it with our own two eyes. And we're going to sit here and pretend like this is a new phenomenon. Oh, all these injuries are freak accidents. You know what makes people more prone to freak accidents? It's like saying, all of those people got struck by thunder during thunderstorms. Who could have predicted it? Maybe they shouldn't have went outside with kites with keys attached to them. Maybe they shouldn't have did that. Tibbs having all these freak injuries. I know that y'all don't know how the body works, but in general, when you are on a basketball court, when you're doing explosive movements for longer, you're more prone to those freak accidents than players who aren't. But I digress. I'm going to send it over to y'all now. What are your takeaways from this series?
I'm gonna go ahead and take this one just because we're gonna make it quick. I thought that the Knicks had enough talent and enough momentum on their side in Game 7 at home to make it through this series. I didn't have them beating Boston. Like, I picked Boston to win at the start of the year. I didn't have the Knicks even having a chance, but we know what happened with Tibbs. Gibbs didn't have to tell us. He's on this podcast with us for a reason because we all share similar sports minds most of the time. We know what Tibbs is about. And a lot of people were saying like, oh, this is a freak injury. And, nobody could have predicted this. There are 7 players on his team that are injured, 5 of which have injuries that they are not able to play through. The other 2 was OG Anunoby, who could not run. He literally could not run, and Tibbs still had him playing. And the other one is Josh Hart, who has an abdominal tear. Yes, he is playing. I wouldn't be advised. If I had an abdominal tear, I wouldn't even advise that Gibbs tell too many jokes on this episode, let alone play 44 minutes of NBA basketball. So, no, I'm not surprised that the Knicks lost. That's what happens when you have somebody playing 48 minutes 3 times in one series. There's a direct correlation between minutes played and injury. And all of these injuries that have occurred on his team is 7 out of those 8 injuries are injuries that are like come from wear and tear. And an abdominal tear is not some freak injury that just happens. And the injury that Jalen Brunson has, a fractured hand, Maybe if he was on the bench during that span of time, he may not fracture his hand. That's kind of like a butterfly effect kind of thing. But the longer he's
Maybe,
on the floor,
may-
he has a higher chance of injuring his hand.
maybe if y'all are blowing the Pistons out by 15 in the middle of December, sit them. Sit them
Maybe,
down.
maybe.
Sit them down. Oh, you're up 20 in the there's 5 minutes left. Sit your starters. Sit them. Oh, none of the Knicks are tops in minutes played. And yet all of them broke down at the same time. What a coinky dink. What a coinky dink.
I will say this will sound crazy for me to say. If their front office handles it the right way, the Knicks are in a very good position going forward.
I agree. Chris, give us your thoughts on the Knicks and the Pacers.
I think the Knicks. So the reason why I picked the Knicks, right, and I'm gonna stand on this, right. I didn't trust the Pacers, point blank, period, right. Rick Carlisle got my full support and trust. I didn't trust the Pacers, right. My decision on picking the Knicks, because you have Pascal Siakam, who has won a championship, right. I didn't think that was enough. Tyrese Halliburton has never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. In addition to that, you also have Miles Turner, who ain't pissed a drop since he's been in the league. Underestimating Aaron Nesmith's defense, right? Because in Boston, he's a black man in Boston, so it's a lot of reasons why he probably didn't play. But if you're not a superstar black man in Boston, you for sure not going to play. And then sharing the same position as Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum when they were coming up ain't going to help you either. So I can see why I misread this series because, to be honest with you, this wasn't supposed to happen. The Knicks were supposed to win this in 5. When you extend the series longer than it needs to go, you're more prone to injury when you play with Tibbs, right? And you can call it lazy take, you can call it whatever you want, but all of these injuries didn't happen all at once. It was a series of events, right? You came into the playoffs without your second best player, which after you got OG Anunoby, you don't really need Julius Randle to win a basketball game. No, you do not, because OG Anunoby and Julius Randle together are interchangeable to me. You don't have to have them both on the court to see the impact of both of them, right? Julius Randle's not a knockdown shooter to the point where he spaces the floor tremendously, right?
Yeah.
He helps you for sure. Rebounding, he's a 25-9 guy on a regular basis.
Julius Randle is OG Anunoby with a green light, and they got OG Anunoby.
Exactly. So once they got them,
I told y'all that in February when they traded for him. By the way, watch the clips.
Yeah, that was what I was wrong about. I'll admit that.
Yeah. So great pickup by the Knicks front office, but until the pattern changes, ain't nothing changing for the Knicks. I mean, you could go ahead, sign Brunson. He deserved that contract, but I was listening to Gil's Arena. Be honest with y'all, it's only been 2 3-point guards to ever win a championship and lead their team to a finals.
Yeah.
And all of them was taller than 6 foot. So
it's you not going to win a championship. When your point guard is your best player, you're not winning a championship.
Tibbs pack in the air. Is it gas or what, boys? Is it gas or what? Tibbs pack is blowing, is smooth. Boy, that good high. What did Childish Gambino say? And if the drug is weak, then the high is long. Atta Vista. We love to see. What's going on there. So let me ask y'all this. How many games do y'all have the Celtics win the Eastern Conference Finals in?
I got Boston in 5. Boston is known to blow a game.
Chris, what you got?
I got Boston in 5. This ain't no New York. These players been resting. They ain't played more than 5 games. You can switch everything. Nesmith, good lucky because you're going to be in hell unless you make Jaylen Brown go to left. But
I got Boston in 6. I think that it's Boston. I think that it's the NBA, so you always got to, at the risk of giving up one game. But it's Boston, too. They're going to trick off one. Yeah. Jason Tatum going to forget how to shoot, and they're going to be like, wait a minute. We can force Jaylen Brown left at least one game, and next thing you know, it's all downhill from there. So now let's talk about the real game. Let's talk about the real series that's going on. Okay, because we're already in the middle of the Celtics and the Pacers, and the Celtics have a sizable advantage at the time of recording. But let's talk about that Thunder Wolves. Who you got? How many games?
I have the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I'm sorry, Mavericks Wolves.
Wolves. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves making their first ever NBA Finals in 6 games. And here's the reason why. That Minnesota defense is meant to completely shut down isolation ball. And when you're playing against Kyrie Irving, when you're playing against Luka Doncic, when you have players like, honestly, PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford who get most of their opportunities off offensive rebounds, spot up shots, or getting the ball off of an offensive rebound, and they're playing ISO themselves, that Minnesota defense is way too good to allow that to happen. You still have Luka and Kyrie who are elite at what they do, and they'll find a way to score, and that can get you 2 games. But here's the X factor that's missing, and y'all are going to call me crazy. This series is completely different if Dallas has Maxi Kleber available.
Bro, in 2024, you just said that, bro?
Yes. And here's the reason why.
We're going to start drug testing on Facts Over Acts.
Here's the reason why.
We're going to start drug testing.
When was Denver in the best opportunity to beat Minnesota in this past series? When everybody stretched the floor and Jokic was playing out and it forced Gobert to come out and guard him, that's when Denver played best.
But Maxi Kleber is not the type of shooter that can demand that type of energy, because
if you leave Maxi Kleber open, he gonna make his shots.
Yes, but they don't have 5 guys that they can put on the floor all at once that can all knock it down at a high clip and do the other things that affect winning basketball. Let me be very clear. When I talk about Derek Lively, people don't understand how good Derek Lively is. Now, I
do. Honestly, I thought Derek Lively should have been. I think Derek Lively should have been. People gonna call me crazy. He should have been ahead of Chet in Rookie of the Year votes. I would have had Wemby, Lively, then Chet.
Here's what I'm saying. Derek Lively was plus 26 or 27 last game.
Yeah.
Like that. People don't understand how positively having a big man that can crash the boards and rim run affects that unit, because doing the 5-out thing, it doesn't work if they have good defenders in terms of perimeter defenders. The 5-out doesn't work. Even with guys who can cook and do what Luka and Kyrie do. Okay, great. But now they're going to have to defend people on the other end. Okay, great. And again, not only do they have to defend people, the other guys that are the out, the 4 and 5 that are the out as well, they're going to have to rebound on the other end. There is no way you're telling me that Maxi Kleber can keep up with this combination on the boards. You're looking at Gobert, Cat, or Gobert, Naz Reid, or Cat, Naz Reid.
Which is why Dallas has to control the pace if they had Maxi Kleber, because as much as I like Derek Lively, as much as PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford has stepped up, regardless of what combination of that Dallas front court is there, Minnesota is about to dominate on defense and the boards, regardless of who Dallas has out there.
I disagree.
Well, that's 2/3 of the game. That's 2/3 of the game. What?
I understand that, which is why you have to try to outscore Minnesota to win this series, and Maxi Kleber gives you a better opportunity to outscore a Minnesota defense than what they currently have.
I guess by that logic, sure. Chris, what do you disagree about?
I disagree. So here's 2 things, right? This is what Josh is missing the whole thing. What was Jason Kidd known for when he coached Milwaukee? What was he known for?
He was known for running the floor.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the best way to do that?
Off rebounds. Off misses.
Rebounds and having a smaller, more athletic lineup.
And a smaller lineup. When a small ball go out there, what the hell you going to do with Rudy Gobert? What the hell you going to do with Rudy Gobert? When small ball?
Oh, my God.
Put Naz Reid in the game?
Okay, you got Naz Reid. What the hell you going to do when PJ Washington line up at center?
I'm more than comfortable with Naz Reid on PJ Washington.
No. Well, I'm talking about matching up, right? But now you have the opportunity to play 5-out with 2 of the best ISO players in the game. You ain't guarding Kyrie or Luka. You're not guarding.
Give me Vando and Antman. Give me those 2. Give them here. Give me McDaniels and Vando. Give them here. I'll take it. I like that. I like that. I need that. I need that as a matter of fact. Come put it in my life.
I'm not even going. I'm not even
Luka
going.
Luka already hurt. He already hobbling.
Luka is already hurt. Luka has a tendency to be inconsistent. And as much as I love Kyrie, I'm scared of this series because I think Antman is about to have Kyrie. Like, Kyrie is going to be fighting off wash allegations this summer at the Ant Doe with him.
Give me the Nuggets in 5, maybe 6. Maybe 6.
You mean the Wolves?
I'm sorry, the Wolves. Give me the Wolves in 5, maybe 6. As a matter of fact, I'll be generous. Kyrie and Luka will clutch up 1, but give me Wolves in 6. Don't be surprised if it's 5. That's who I got. Chris, who you got?
I mean, I'm gonna take the Wolves, but I think it's going 7, and I think Game 7 can go either way. I think Luka gonna have a sensational game at least once. I think Kyrie gonna have a sensational game against once. Derrick Jones Jr. gonna run the floor. You got 2 lob threats that when they get Rudy Gobert in that pick and roll, that lob threat gonna be deadly. I don't care how good Anthony Edwards is a defender on the perimeter. When Lively or Gafford jump up for that jump ball, he ain't gonna be able to do nothing against that. He could jump out the gym, but that's too much weight, too much body in the air for him to control. I really, really like Dallas the way they match up with this team. They are the 3rd or 4th best defensive team, just like the Wolves are the 1st best defensive team. And offensively, they had 2 of the most dangerous weapons in the NBA. So,
Well, we gonna see. Like I said, I think that Maxi Kleber being hurt is why they're here right now. Honestly and truly, I think that them being forced to play Lively and Gaffney is why they're here right now. I really and truly do. Because I don't think that they would have otherwise. And if you give the Thunder, the small ball loving Thunder, the opportunity to truly work a lineup where they don't have to have any bigs on the court, they are salivating. They are licking at their chop. You mean that we get to put the little do-rag wearing anime boy at the 5? You will? You let us do that? Oh, I can't wait. Them forcing Chet to stay on the floor and letting Lively cook that man alive on the boards is what got him there to me. But we going to see. So, with that being said, fellas, I'm going to just say this, and we going to get on out of here. It's been, we've seen a really great playoff so far, but there's a lot of good basketball left to be played. Leave the damn legacy conversations at home. That's all I'm asking. Again, teams are back. Ant gets carried by this team at times. I'm not saying that Ant is a terrible player. That's what happens. Luka has Kyrie showing up consistently. I'm not saying Luka's a bad player. That's what happens. Okay? That's what the Pacers, don't y'all tell me about no one superstar on the Pacers. Don't you? Again, somebody said that Halliburton is ahead of Trae Young and Ja Morant now because he's reached the conference finals before them. And Pascal Siakam is a better player than Embiid because he reached the final or conference finals before them. Again, y'all gotta stop.
Did we forget that Trae Young made the conference finals?
Y'all gotta stop. It gotta stop. Okay, it gotta stop. Leave the legacy talk at home. And let's just enjoy some good ball, okay? Let's just enjoy what we're seeing in front of us. I know y'all tired of us talking about the young guys and coming of age and whether or not it's appropriate to braid hair in class. But come on back to next week and the week after that and the week after that. Peace and love, y'all.